We enter this story following a tragedy. Wander, the character through which we will experience this narrative, slowly rides Agro, his horse, into the Forbidden Land. The figure of a girl lays morosely across the front of the saddle, swaying limply with the rhythmic steps of the animal. The music rises and swells as we watch from above, gliding through the air beside a hawk, while Wander navigates through a series of picturesque set pieces, eventually arriving at his destination as the sun rises above a strange land. An intricate bridge stretches before you, marching directly towards a large, tall structure in the distance, connecting with it near the center. Our bird's eye view makes it immediately clear that this bridge is hundreds of feet tall, with its supporting beams reaching towards the ground in regular intervals. A vast land of varying foliage, much of it obscured, is visible in every direction. But even now, with very little information, the land feels empty. Wander crosses the bridge, and I want to take a moment to note his seeming lack of urgency. This hints at a man who understands the weight of his task and is resigned to do it, but in no hurry to arrive. The woman he seeks to save, it seems, has already run out of time. We don't actually see Wander cross the bridge, as the first intro cutscene ends as he begins to, and the second begins as he arrives on the other side. But I imagine him getting a true sense of the scale of the building as he approaches. Resembling a castle, the building is taller than the bridge that leads to it and is extremely voluminous, with massive chambers and hidden rooftops. The bridge connects near the center of the structure, and as Wander approaches, a heavy rock door scrapes upward, revealing a doorway large enough for him and his horse. Upon entering, the door scrapes to the ground, sealing the way back and cutting off the sun. It is notable that Wander did nothing to interact with the door, either to open or close it, implying something mystic. A dimly lit set of spiraling stairs descends to the ground below, where the only light from somewhere high above illuminates a shallow pool in the middle of the circular room. The descent is skipped in the cutscene, but it is assumedly slow and ponderous. After arriving at the bottom and skirting the pool, with Agro notably neighing nervously, Wander enters the adjoined chamber. The music swells again as Agro clops them slowly through a large, rectangular room, open to the world on the opposite end. Sunlight streams through a circular opening in the ceiling, near the end of the chamber, before a portal leading to the world beyond. Twin pairs of stairs lead down to the grass below, on the right and the left, but a set of stairs in the middle, only about 10 stairs from bottom to top, rises to meet a human-sized altar in the middle. After crossing the chamber, Wander dismounts, carefully lifting the woman from the saddle, and carries her to the top, where he gently places her on the altar. It is here I will note that the altar has a matching pillar extending from the ceiling, creating only a small space between the altar and the pillar above, which reminds me of a circuit. Does the power pass through her as the game progresses, slowly infusing her until life returns? Does the process require one in need of resurrection to function? Perhaps Mono, the woman, completes the circuit.
Was you hick? Awel yek for all. Ikudu ibikuka. Yulbzolu iondu. Yulilo cock. I use yula cordoloya. Olik, olazulam, cause. Ilzozeriku atzoko. Amnos crudu. Laomism wop. Was you a diulas also? View houses is view. Ikola kizado you lola. Islis was I SeanathonVGQ. You are a lucky car.
A forbidden land of myth and legend, said to be capable of bringing souls back from the dead. This seems like a flashback of some sort, where Wander is remembering what was said to him about this place, most likely when he decided to seek it. Suddenly, formless shadows begin to rise from the floor behind you, spooking aggro as they start to slowly move toward Wander. Wander unsheathes his sword, which glows softly, either reflecting the light or radiating it, and points it towards the shadow creatures. They react immediately and are banished, but there is another effect. The camera pans up and for a brief moment focuses on the clouds as lightning flashes and thunder rolls. The perspective returns to the chamber, angled toward the circular hole in the ceiling as an ancient, powerful voice begins to speak.
You call us, you dream. I will think you own you.
Dormi for all you Ostu Hailwa Wukiwaikwa. Ujis Yazu Zudoko was Nordekyo Wutira.
I will answer. I will be your eyes. Cute.
Is Kimku. It is all of you equal. It's not all amusement. I will declick if the least to is.
What's is you love. Elaka always is I'm you echoes you. Pedally no cool. You are the no. You do. Oh, you could.
Uranora.
Reason could come around you. You are a good.
Oh, you. I'll bet.
I was. You call. No something kiss. No cuddle. On those around us. I will continue. Error was no sense. It was a do. It was do.
You do. You bet, Sanada.
Cool. I won't do. Was no sense. Oh, you know, you and Bill cry outside. Was you and Bill, or we come Zula, Mukirajura. Nossos, you are your hands, Kadu, Mukodo.
Oram.
You are the was no zero. You will be yellow. Or you are our street.
Ola. You do new.
No cooler. It will ever. I would join I was you ever become. Dance down here, car after. Brandy.
It is as if this presence only became aware of you the moment the sword was revealed, or had been content with whatever fate awaits those who trespass without the sword. Thinking of the door at the end of the bridge, I wonder if the sword works as a sort of access key. If so, however, that would suggest the opening of the door was separate from the awareness of the voice, as they would have known of the sword immediately otherwise. It also begs the question as to how one would enter the land without the sword. A parachute of some kind, perhaps? The sword can also clearly be felt by the Colossi as they react to Wander's presence without any intervention, as if they can sense him. None seem to be alive before Wander arrives, suggesting a sort of hibernation designed to be interrupted by the sword. The sword seems to literally be the key, in the sense that it unlocks the main door, and figuratively as well, as without it, Wander couldn't find the beasts or their weak spots. Anyway, Wander is set loose from here into the Forbidden Land with a brief explanation, his trusty horse, and a mysterious sword pointing the way. It is also here, presumably, that you notice the giant statues resting silently along the walls of the rectangular chamber, representations of the awesome beasts Wander will encounter during its quest. As each Colossus is defeated, its statue representation is also destroyed in a flash of light that seems to come from inside the rock. It's as if the light is violently sucked out, and all that remains is a pile of rubble. These Colossus dwell in various locations across the land, requiring Wander to travel to deep chasms and high plateaus, to dank caves and elaborate ancient structures. The variety of areas are matched only by the variety of Colossi, and the only hints you receive come from the mysterious voice booming down to you from the sky every time you slay another monster, and the solitary beam of light from your sword. This beam points directly from you to the Colossus's location, and so can be misleading. I have many times ended up in an area I had never been, due to taking a wrong turn while following the light. The structure where Wander begins his mission is in the center of these lands, which is certainly not a coincidence. The Forbidden Lands feel like a place that has been lost to time, perhaps due to the faults of its ancient inhabitants, perhaps due to some ancient event out of their control. The castle-like building is the obvious and apparent example, but the land is splattered with evidence. Bridges span gaps, shrines can be found near most, if not all, Colossus locations, and vast networks of worked stone lead to several underground structures, such as a Colosseum built inside a mountain. What was the civilization that existed here before? The shrines being close to Colossi locations indicates they may have been treated as beings with religious significance, or at the least that the locations they inhabit were once of religious significance. But where did the inhabitants go? My analysis leads me to believe this land was built and designed for the sole purpose of housing Dorman, which is the name of the entity, and the Colossi that bind him. Perhaps ancient people lived here and discovered Dorman somehow, or maybe Dorman was a man who sought forbidden powers and was successful. Or maybe the land was built with the express purpose of sealing Dorman away. This does not seem likely, considering the nature of the arenas the Colossi are found in. It almost seems like the arena was designed before the Colossus was placed there. It becomes clear quickly that there is a very limited amount of life in the Forbidden Lands. Several types of birds fly above or are perched here and there. Dark-tail and light-tail lizards skitter around in various places, and other small animals such as sand crabs and bats can be found in other places. Wander can even find some deer and other mammals in more lush areas of the game. Despite this, or maybe partially as a result of this, the land feels exceedingly empty, and this is punctuated by the abandoned buildings littering the landscape. It feels like there should be more life here. Our senses and experience tell us someone had to have made these structures, and surely the Colossi must eat something other than the birds and the squirrels. Additionally, our gamer instincts tell us there should be things to do between point A and point B, like a side quest to find a pan, or a traveling merchant. But these things are absent here. Other than unlockables granted after completing certain time challenges and such, The only items to be collected in the world are lizard tails and fruit from specific trees, and only the white lizard tails matter. The white tails give grip strength or stamina, while the fruit increases Wander's max health. The orange and yellow fruit is found on larger, lusher looking trees, and is simply a matter of shooting it down with arrows before collecting it. Blacktail lizards are found almost everywhere on the map, but the whitetail lizards are much rarer, inhabiting the shrines mentioned earlier, specific structures, and a few other places around the map. I think of these lizards as being akin to animals that develop mutations when living in radiated areas. Perhaps these lizards absorb the power from the places they inhabit. The fruit could be similar, although it doesn't seem to matter where it grows, or at least I have not noticed any significance. But the land itself does seem to have some sort of power, so maybe that's why consuming things from this land grants physical benefits. Every time you defeat a Colossus and absorb its essence, you are transported back to the central hub, and sometimes you see the representations of the souls you have already consumed standing over your unconscious body as you wake. Other times short cutscenes will play, but the voice from the sky is always there to provide a short description of the next Colossus you are to seek and kill, and the physical effects of the process become more and more evident. Wander's skin becomes pale, allowing his blackening veins to show through. His hair begins to resemble more of a black sinew, oily and ragged. His clothing becomes torn and stained with the dark blood of the Colossi. Ultimately, his eyes become cloudy and soulless as small horns appear on his head. It seems rather clear, by the end of the game, that what you are doing is forbidden for a reason. Perhaps this land should have stayed sealed and forgotten. Every time Wander slays a Colossus, the same somber song plays as the light fades from their eyes, their bodies collapsing to the ground in heaps, never to rise again. Some soar above the ground, others bury their way through the sand, and others rest peacefully beneath the earth. But none are aggressive, and all are slaughtered, because what matters more than the life of the woman you love? The journey from the hub point to the next Colossus is half of the game, if not more. The experience of finding the Colossus is arguably just as important as fighting it. You become stronger by finding lizards and fruits, you slowly reveal the map and unlock shrine locations, and as you grow closer to the Colossus, the scenery and atmosphere reflect the fight that is to come. One of the most iconic Colossus, the third, the Knight, is a good example of this. Wander makes his way across the land through some twisting corridors to find a large, circular platform built above a lake. The camera angles towards the platform as music plays, letting you know you have found the right place. Wander must leave aggro behind for a short swim to the base of a ramp, and after some ledge dangling and careful jumping, Wander arrives at the top. A short set of stairs carries him the rest of the way. I absolutely love how dramatic this cutscene is. The very earth quakes beneath Wander's feet as this ancient giant rises for the first time in what seems to be hundreds of years. Rubble streams from its body as the stone creaks and snaps. It leans on its sword as it rises to its full height, towering over Wander, and as the camera returns to the player's perspective and you regain control, the music starts. Uniquely, this Colossus is humanoid and, furthermore, wields a distinctly human weapon, being the stone sword. This sticks out to me, as even the more humanoid colossi later in the campaign are beastly in design, with the possible exception of the final Colossus. I mention this mainly to point it out, as I think it is interesting and worth thought. Another Colossus, the 11th Colossus, has a journey that stands out in my memory too. Up until this point, the majority of the Colossus fought have been large. Even the 8th, the Colossus fought in the Colosseum, was large compared to Wander. After running over a bridge and across the plain, a switchback takes Wander steadily to the bottom of a ravine. A small chamber is visible built into the side of the wall, a short distance up, and so you head up the hill nearby and proceed in that direction. As you grow near, the space becomes cramped and narrow. A final leap takes you into an arena too small to house any of the Colossus you have fought so far, with fire burning and 4 sconces on the perimeter. Upon entering the arena, the Colossus bounds into the arena after you, only slightly bigger than aggro and resembling a bull. This fight is remembered as being rather annoying by fans, due to the speed of the Colossus combined with the fact that he can more or less stun lock you on the ground until you are dead. It's also one of the more gimmicky fights. I understand these complaints, and I really don't disagree overall, but I can't agree with disliking the Colossus from an artistic standpoint. In a game with arenas all designed to match the Colossus that inhabits them, this one may be my favorite. Even before seeing the Colossus, you can feel something is off. Experience so far tells the player to expect large beasts, and so this knowledge contradicts the knowledge that you are approaching the arena. You make the leap, expecting to find another avenue, or another path to lead you to the true arena. But as soon as you land, the cutscene plays. So, what purpose does the big, beautiful open world serve? As we just established, the act of locating the Colossus can be almost as impactful as fighting them. The arenas, and the lead up to them, are designed to echo the characteristics of the beasts that dwell there. The silence in between bombastic boss fights serves as a perfect contrast and allows the player to reflect. No side character follows you around, explaining everything just in case you weren't paying attention. You're allowed to think. What is the nature of this land, and what drove Wander here? On that same line of thought, what happened to the girl before the events of the game? Who is this godly voice guiding Wander's sword across the forbidden lands? I could be overthinking it, as is a habit of mine, but does the game, as a whole, represent the loneliness and isolation associated with facing something like losing the woman you love? It is common for people to describe coping with great tragedy this way, leaving them feeling alone in an alien world, a shadow of what it once was. Wander's quest requires him to slay innocent, beautiful beasts in a desperate attempt to bring back a woman of great import to him. In doing so, Wander is truly corrupted and destroyed, with Dorman possessing and controlling his essence before being locked away once again. Mono, the woman, finds Wander reincarnated as a baby with horns in the shallow pool following these events. This may require a video also. This is not a novel idea, I must admit. After looking into it, I am far from the first person to have this thought. The Colossi have been compared to the stages of grief, with the effects on Wander representing the effects of the grieving process. This just further demonstrates how human this narrative feels and how relatable it is, despite taking place in a fantasy setting. How does a thought like this overlay the ending, which seems to suggest that Wander made the wrong choices throughout the game? One of the most important lessons learned in the grieving process is how to accept and move on, even if you can't forget. Through my eyes, I see Wander doing everything in his power to deny this reality, which is a stage of grief, but does he ever reach acceptance? Wander being reborn at the end would certainly suggest that maybe he did complete the process. Wander, in his quest to revive this woman he clearly loves more than anything, desecrates the sacred land, kills ancient, possibly godly creatures, and in doing so corrupts himself beyond recognition. Dorman possesses him and, although defeated and trapped once again, could have been released upon the world. The other humans who arrive at the end to stop Dorman clearly condemn what Wander has done here. It is hard to blame him, though, because who wouldn't defy the very gods to save the one you love?